Welcome to Extra Scale Modelling. For my next build, I'm building this Airfix Pak40 gun and truck, scale 176. Now I'm actually building two of these, but also I'm just showing you the one. So inside the box, we have 1, 2, 3 screws. All look fairly well moulded and clean. The cab looks nice. It does have some figures there as well, which is good. Can't see where the gun is. Oh, there's the gun there. So that's in the box. Fairly simple kit, like all these 176s. We have a small decal sheet, and of course the instructions. Now I've not even had a look at these, but I can imagine, yeah, it's nice simple construction, shouldn't be too much of a problem. I have two different variants, one for Africa and one for Russia, northern Russia. And it's the Russian one I'll be doing to fit in with my diorama that I've got planned for this, which will be the Battle of Kursk. And I'll actually only be using the gun on that diorama, but I may as well build the whole kit. So I will get these primed and get into it. So starting off with painting the framework in RC401 Dirty Black by Umbro. Then going over to Umbro 67 Tank Grey and painting the underside of the cab unit here, but this is actually the main colour of the truck and the gun. For the wheels I'm using UA734 Dirty Black rubber shades 1, and that's by Life Colour. If you haven't used these Life Colour paints before, I suggest you get a set of the blacks and the wooden decks. These sets are fantastic for weathering and for tyres and rubber elements on a vehicle. They're brilliant. I'm using Umbro 56 aluminium for the drivetrains and 11 silver for the axles. As you can see, I'm painting most things on the sprue here like I normally do. And just to recap, this is just to save time. It's easier to handle the tiny parts as well if they're still on the sprue. And when you take them all off, all you have to do is touch up any contact points. For the suspension springs, it's Rust 113 by Umbro. It's now time to start putting together. So I'm starting off with the gearbox and drivetrain. Like all these tiny vehicles that I'm doing, the gearbox and that are very small. They have two recess points on one side and one on the other to fit the axles and drive shafts. Be careful when you're taking these shafts off the sprue, they can split, and you will have to cement them back together. I had two do it, so that's not so bad considering how many there is. And of course I'm doing two vehicles as well. But the easiest way to fit them is put one end of the drive shaft into the gearbox, then use your tweezers to guide the other end in. When you fit the suspension springs, there is two little recess points on the main frame. If you've already painted it like I have, they may be slightly camouflaged and you might not be able to see them. So just be aware of that, but they do fit in there very nicely. And then you just connect the frame to the bottom part of the cab before fitting the other drive shaft. Onto the wheels and the axles. The front wheels, there's only two wheels to fit on. They should be secured quite easily. Make sure you don't cut off too much from the sprue when you're taking these off, or you'll find there's nothing to bond onto. You'll have to do them, bond them right onto the edge of the axle, which is not great. The back ones have two sets of wheels on each side of the axle. Make sure you put them in order Let's say there's one that doesn't have so much detail, goes on the inside, and obviously the one before the detail goes on the outside. Again, be careful when you're cutting the axle off the sprue, because you want to leave enough axle to fit through the two wheels. Each axle has its own separate drivetrain. Fit this before you fit it into the gearbox, so the opposite way around you did the first ones. It's just easier then to place them in. The axle goes over the top of the suspension springs. If you've located them properly on the frame, then they should just drop on without any problem. Going on to the radiator grille, and it's 53 gun metal that the centre piece is getting painted in. I've already painted the outside colour around the framework of the grille. There's a little emblem on the grille that can be painted as well. I think, if I remember correctly, I did it in 11 silver. Next is the interior of the cab and the dashboard. You have to fit in the steering column first. There is a slight angle on this for it to fit in, so that you know exactly where you are putting it for the steering wheel. The instrument panel, I would suggest fitting it to one side first, so that you know exactly where it's going before you close it up. It will close up fine with it in, but if you're not sure, close up the cab, then fit it in. So now it's fitted in, I'm putting the two halves of the cab together. There's little location points for these to line up with, so you shouldn't have much difficulty doing it. It lines up perfectly, even with the dashboard in. Now, you can also put in the seat beforehand as well if you wish. In fact, I'd recommend that, because that helps steady the two halves of the cab together when you push them in. Then once that's on, it's a simple case of popping the radiator grille on the front. Now it's putting in the gear stick. Again, that's just one single column of plastic. I painted it in Humbrol's 56 aluminium for the stem, and the knob itself I was a 21 black gloss, just a tiny little bit at the tip of the stem. There's various other small pieces that are going on. They're tiny, so I can't really zoom into them. These are the headlights going on. There's location points on each end of the mudguard at the form next to the radiator. I would suggest putting them on first before you put the cab unit on. The instruction says put the cab unit on first, but you actually have more room doing it this way around. On the side of the cab, there's a spade and a pickup. So for the handle, it's 1110 wood, and for the actual blade, it's 11 silver. Again, I would put these on before I attached the cab, just because there's more room to work. And once that was done, it was time to place on the cab. That just pops in. You shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. The fit was perfect for it. Now, the kit doesn't come with any clear parts, so what I've done is I've taken a clear envelope for that holds photo etch parts and things like that when you get them, when you buy them. And I just cut it up to the size of the window and placed it in using some canopy glue to hold it in position. It acts as a window. It really works very well. It can be a little bit difficult to get the fit right, but as you can see there, it works quite well. If you're going to do it before you put everything together. I only thought of it once I had things together, but nevertheless I did go in, and then it was time to put the roof on, which just sits on top. I then used the canopy glue on the side windows to fill them in to act as a film once it dries clear for a window. Onto the top canvas, and I'm using 30 dark green by Umbro on this. I've watered this down quite thinly, so the green is not as dark as it normally would be on a dark green, but it is quite effective for this colour. Now the instructions I have it as a sandy sort of brown colour. The photos I looked at, it was always a green sort of fall. In fact, on the box, it looks a dark green colour as well. So then it was just some touch-ups with paints, putting in 11 silver onto the headlights there. And now for the trailer. First of all, you have to put on the mud guards. There's 2 location points on the underside of it. As you can see, they're painted the underside in the framework colour. So that's RC 401 Dirty Black. Then it's time to construct the actual trailer itself. I would suggest putting on the end part first. There is a long crease in the plastic where these just sit onto. Doesn't really need much holding. It does need careful consideration when you're putting it on to line up. Make sure the brackets on the outside are at the top of each unit, not the bottom, because that's where it joins onto the canvas top to hold it down. And then once it's made up, it's a simple case of putting the top on. There's 4 little pins that are in the inside of the canvas top for it to sit in inside. If it is too tight, just be careful. You may want to take them off or just prise open the actual side a little bit. I didn't have that problem, but some people may do so. There's various other little pieces that have to go on into the car now with that part of the build. There's the wing mirror has to go on, and there's 2 little columns of plastic that go on next to the lamp light, headlight saving. I'm not sure what they're for, but they're there. And then it's a case of just slipping on the top trailer box. Just line it up with the axle, the mud gears with the axle, and it should just drop in. Again, I didn't have to hold this, and once I cemented any contact points, it just fell into place and it was left. Now onto the gun. Now unfortunately the gun has no opening on the barrel, so I'm using my pin drive here just to open them up so that it looks like a barrel. To make up the gun, first of all, there's 2 hinges that go on. This is enabling the gun to move up and down. These can be quite tricky. If you place the hinge in first where it contacts the gun, then put your cement on the actual hinge to connect with the other half of the hinge, then that should enable you to have a bit of movement. Just be careful when you take these off the sprue. They're very fine plastic and they can snap. Next is the shield for the gun. That just simply goes over the barrel. The contact point for these is actually the bottom of the shield. It goes onto the hinge, but it's a tight fit, so you may not want to use any cement on this stage. The carriage for this is a simple makeup. First of all, you put on the protective guard onto the axle plate, and then the wheels go on. Now there's only 2 wheels on here, so there's not much to get wrong. Next is the tow bar and stabilizing bars. Now these are meant to go on without any cement. There's a little nub of plastic inside the joint that acts as a ball joint. I couldn't get them to stay on. In the end, I had to cement them on. Luckily, I'm only using the guns in the kit, so I was having them in the stabilizing position anyway, as in they're splayed out. But if you're having them in the towed position, you're only going to be able to have it one way or the other, I think. The recess hole to hold the gun was a little bit small, so I placed my knife in and opened it up slightly before placing the gun in, and that's the gun and carriage made up. So as you can see now, I'm putting on the decal, just fast forwarding it here. These are going on the normal way, softening in water, putting on my decal solution, and then positioning them on. There's not that many decals to go on. A couple on the front, a couple on the back, and a couple on the side. It depends what variant you're doing, of course. Well, that brings this build to an end. And quite a nice little kit this. The gun was a little bit tricky in parts because of the brackets. But apart from that, everything went well. If you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for the 176 series that I'm doing, or indeed for any other content. Subscribe to the channel for future updates. Hit that like button and of course leave a comment. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.